I'm Dr. Missick. This is my daily campaign report, and I'm recording this during Veterans Day weekend. Yesterday, I preached a sermon on Veterans Day, and I want to acknowledge our veterans. I am a military veteran with 30 years of experience with 2 combat deployments and 4 years on the border mission. So let's say thank you to our veterans, because it was through military action and military service that we won our independence and that we safeguard our freedoms and our liberties. And our veterans made a lot of sacrifices, and we need to acknowledge them. And I've said this before, and I say this in my sermon. If you want to watch my Veterans Day sermon, it's online. And we also need to acknowledge our wounded warriors. And it's important to have Veterans Day. It's important to have Memorial Day to remember those who died. But as a military chaplain who worked with people who had severe injuries, I was doing ministry work in Brooks Army Medical Center in San Antonio. It was a very profound experience for me, doing chaplain ministry in that hospital. And you see people with serious, profound injuries that they're going to carry with the rest of their lives, physical injuries, but also a lot of soldiers have, more emotional and psychological injuries. So I really think we should have a day where we honor our injured veterans. I guess Veterans Day includes all veterans. Let's acknowledge all those who serve, but let's also acknowledge not only those who died, but also those who were physically or psychologically injured or scarred through military service. And I have service-related injuries that it's a struggle that I sustained on military service. So it's a difficult thing to deal with that. We need to acknowledge our wounded warriors. So today's campaign events for me was organizing. Now we have 1 week before the Meet the Campaign event, which I think is very important. And also this week I have to go to Austin. The reason why I'm going to Austin is to put my name on the ballot. So that's very important. You have to, as a running for state legislature, you have to go to Austin to do that. So that's what I'll be doing. And what I want to mention today is knowing the House district. And I'm a conservative Republican, and I'm committed to the core values and principles of the Republican Party. And I am a socially conservative, so-called religious right, even though I think that's a derogatory term, but basically that's what I am as a pastor, as a Christian. I believe that America was founded on biblical concepts. A lot of people might dispute that. And one of the things I think is very important is freedom. Freedom. So the left and the Democrat Party is pushing Marxism. They're pushing a police state, which I want to recommend you watch Dinesh D'Souza's Police State movie. And they're trying to strip our freedoms away from us. We saw this what they did during COVID. That's a portent of things to come if we don't stand up to these people. They want to deny us freedom of speech. They're doing it right now. Canceling people, just the online censorship directed by the FBI. It's horrible. Horrible. And it's being exposed. So I never thought I'd live in the day where Americans would be afraid to state their opinions. And yet that's where we're at. Not only have we've moved beyond that, where you're not able to state your opinions. There could be terrible consequences, or you could be silenced. So we need to address the need for free speech. If we can't have free speech, we're not going to have dialogue, discussion, and be able to work out issues through back and forth and communication. It's awful. But what's happening is we have a totalitarian political party, and they want to crush all dissent. And we have to stand up for that. We have to stand up for all of our First Amendment liberties. The right to petition our government, which is what January 6th was really all about. Freedom of speech, of course. Freedom of religion, which they denied during COVID. And our church remained open during COVID, but so many churches compromised, and it's a pitiful, terrible thing. And I really respect pastors who stood up against tyranny and kept their churches open. We have to, sometimes, Jesus said it himself, sometimes we have to suffer for the cause of righteousness. And it's not easy. That's what leadership and heroism is about. And when I gave my Veterans Day sermon, I was talking about heroism. And the left wants to crush, destroy the memory of any heroes, any notable person in the past, anyone who did something monumental, anyone who changed the course of history. I want to take those statues down. Even though he was a horrible person and a racist, as Karl Marx was, they don't want to, tarnish his memory, but anybody else. And the fact of the matter is, we're all imperfect people except for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So anybody in history, you're going to find fault with them. But I think it's important as a historian, as a history major, for us to reflect on the past, and we have to acknowledge the great accomplishments of, for instance, our founding fathers, flawed men that they were. Thank God for them, and thank God for the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and our United States Constitution. And the freedom that these documents represent are under attack. So, I just want to give a rehash, sort of yesterday. These are the principles we're focusing on. You keep things simple. But there are things here that I think that I don't want to go into in depth, but I have to mention my stand on. So we have the border, and I worked on the border for 4 years on Operation Guardian Support, and I know the border very, very well. I've seen policies in action that create problems, and I've seen policies and actions that provide solutions. I know what we need to do to secure the border. Having been there and worked the border during those 4 years. Integrity. We need to have integrity. I want to mention this. It looks to me that Trey Harris is buying people off. And I don't want Trey Harris's money, and I'm not going to take anybody's money to do the wrong thing. I think we have to serve with integrity and honor. I believe that we're all going to stand before the judgment seat of Christ and give account of our lives. And we have to live lives of principle and lives of virtue, and especially for serving the people. We need to do so with integrity. And also we have the issue of voter integrity. We have to clean up our voter rolls. Even here in HD 18, there's a problem with our voter rolls. They're not accurate. And if they're not accurate, then they're vulnerable to be exploited for fraud. Ernest Bell's views do not represent the views of the majority of Republican voters in San Jacinto County. He's against school choice. He's for critical race theory education in our public schools. He's in bed with the teachers' unions. He's working with the teachers' unions to flip Texas blue. He's with the border. He's working with Dave Phelan to prevent new border legislation from being considered and passed. He's obstructing border security legislation with his friend Dave Phelan. And of course, he doesn't want school choice. He doesn't want school reform. He opposes that, even though most people in our district are against CRT and are for school choice. So he does not represent the majority opinion. And we need somebody that represents the beliefs of this House district. I do. Ernest Bells doesn't. And as I mentioned before, healthcare is very important. Of course, I don't believe in socialism, but we have to take care of citizens with physical problems. I'm a disabled veteran, and I've earned through service the benefits of the VA hospital, and I don't know where I'd be without them. So we have to take care of everybody. People shouldn't suffer and be prevented from getting the health care they need to live an abundant life. So we have to have compassion and help people in need and bring down. I think we do need to bring down the cost of healthcare and of medicines, because people have healthcare needs. They need to be able to have those needs met. Property taxes. I think this is a big issue because we have burdensome, oppressive, and onerous property taxes, and we have to cut the property taxes rate down. Other issues that aren't on here that are important. I'm pro-life. I'm also for the Second Amendment, and those are two important issues. And of course, I'm for religious freedom. And I'm for freedom of speech. That means we have to tackle these tech tyrants that are silencing people. And of course, we mentioned voter integrity. That's a very big issue. I was at January 6th because I don't think any logical or reasonable thinking person believes that Joseph Robin Biden won 81 million votes. It's an insult to our intelligence. Look at that man. There's no way he got more votes than Barack Hussein Obama. Give me a break. And all the shenanigans going on, stopping, counting, finding ballots, that's not the way elections should be conducted. And when these things like what happened and the 2020 election happen, it destroys trust of the American people in the voting process. And another thing that destroys trust is when you can't talk about it. We can't address the issues, then we can't solve them. And why are they silencing us dealing with the issue of voter fraud? We have to speak up. We have to address this issue. And I think that the reason why they don't want us to address the issue of voter fraud is because they've been stealing elections. And there's a lot of fraud out there. And this is a shame. Here we are, the United States of America in the 21st century, still, even though we're in decline, we're becoming a third world country if we don't change course. With all, one of the technological leaders of the world, and we can't get our elections right. We have to confront this issue, we have to solve it. So these are important issues, and I want to mention once again, I'll be here at Meet the Candidate event, and I'm here at the church I pastor, King of Saints Tabernacle, every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, praying for the nation. So if you want to join me in prayer for a nation and pick up some campaign materials, please come by. Please, we have to get Ernest Bales out of office. It's the only way to address the issue of Colony Ridge. As long as Ernest Bales is state representative, nothing is going to happen, and the problem with Colony Ridge is going to get worse and worse. We have to address it, and there are other candidates besides me, and I'm hoping, please get out and vote. If we get enough people voting, we need to at least get Ernest Bales to run off. If he's forced to run off, then the candidate that gets the most votes will face him and hopefully defeat him. But I'm hoping and praying that people open their eyes, wake up what's going on, get engaged, and let's settle the issue on March 5th. Vote early. Register to vote if you're not. When the ballots for early, when the election offices are open for early voting, go out and vote. Encourage people to vote during that time, because you don't want to miss election day for any reason. Everybody that can vote, that's concerned about Colony Ridge, needs to vote. We have to save our area. I don't believe it's too late yet. Some people are giving up hope. So please vote against Ernest Bales. If you think Janice Holt's better, or Robert Duke, I think I'm the best candidate with my experience on the border. And like I said, I've been going through all the statistics and the surveys of the people that live in Liberty, San Jacinto, East Montgomery County, Hardin County. And like I said, I reflect the views of the people, the Republican voters of this area, and I want to go to Austin to represent them, to help the people here, and to actually encourage and implement conservative policies that help all Americans of every race and ethnicity and culture and background. The United States, every American citizen. That's what we want. We want to seek the good of all people, because that's what I'm a pastor, and I really believe we should love people. We should seek their good, and I think the good of all people is found in conservatism, because we want to empower people to succeed in life. And Jesus said, "I've come that you could have life and have it more abundantly." So that's what I'm running to do in Austin, to benefit society. And of course, Colony Ridge is a threat to our society and culture, and needs to be confronted. We need to help those people that are being exploited there and prevent this cancer, this blight, from growing any further. And hopefully, we can hold those who've done this to us accountable. In conclusion, I'm going to read this letter here. It had a good comment from Ken Paxton, Attorney General of Texas. He said, upon investigation, the Office of Attorney General found that Colony Ridge, Taranis, Houston, in particular, was made possible by a specific arrangement created by Senator Robert Nichols and Representative Ernest Bales. The MMD, Municipal Management District Authority, was specifically granted to create an advantageous carve-out for the Colony Ridge development to act virtually as its own city. It's the fiefdom or the kingdom of Trey Harris, bestowed upon them by Ernest Bales, or bestowed upon him by Ernest Bales. This is a substantial deviation from lawmakers' original intent for MMDs. And as I've read this before, let's look at this again. We'll conclude with this. Attorney General Ken Paxton says, I am beyond disappointed in Senator Nichols and Representative Bales for apparently working to enrich specific developers, i.e. Trey Harris,
at enormous expense to the rest of the public and reducing the quality of life for their own constituents. So he's hurting his constituents. I have watched journalists and politicians alike downplay this problem. That's because, like the Houston Chronicle, they're a left-wing Marxist publication, and they want to flip Texas blue, and they realize that Colony Ridge has a great potential in achieving that goal, as does Ernest Bales, who's gone to Flip Texas Blue events and wore a purple shirt to show his commitment and solidarity with the Flip Texas Blue movement, because they're going to transition from Texas from red to purple to blue. So he's going around with his purple shirt showing that he's going to make this happen. He's a so-called Republican rhino, but he's going to flip Texas blue. He's going to try to. We're going to stop him because we're going to vote this man out of office. In lockstep, they minimize the scale, cost, and worst of all, the unjust deprivation of self-governance endured by the people of Texas, the residents of San Jacinto and Liberty County, who never assented to the creation of the sprawling, unincorporated, ungoverned zone that caters in no small part to other countries' foreign citizens and forces us to pay for the associated costs. So what Ernest Bales did is he slipped in authorization for Colony Ridge in House Bill 4341. He put it in local and in contested legislation, which means laws that have to be passed to the benefit of certain towns and districts and counties for things like building a new road, putting new fire hydrants in, building a fire station, getting a new fire engine, a squad car, legislation for those issues. He stuck Colony Ridge in there surreptitiously, dishonestly. So it wasn't even debated. And that's unethical, it's immoral, it's wrong, and it's deprived us of representation and the democratic process. And that's why when I win, we're going to repeal HB 4341, and legislatively, representing the will of the people, we are going to stop Trey Harris, Ernest Bales, and Colony Ridge Trainers Houston. And there's a lot of things that I think are important, as we saw on the board. A lot of principles I'm going to fight for in Austin, but I think that this is the primary concern, is confronting the issue of Colony Ridge. So thank you. God bless you, and keep in contact. We'll see you soon.